I'm a millionaire CEO. You're nobody, he laughed. 5 years later, he saw her with triplets. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Romance Rewind Stories. Before we dive into today's incredible story, I have a small favor to ask. If you're enjoying these heartwarming tales, please hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our latest uploads. It's quick, it's free, and it's the best way to support us in bringing you more emotional romance stories. And here's something I'd love to know. Where are you watching from today? Drop your city or country in the comments below. I always enjoy seeing our amazing community from around the world. Oh, and if this story touches your heart, don't forget to hit the like button. It really helps us grow and reach more people who love these kinds of tales. Now, let's get into today's story. I'm a millionaire CEO, you're nobody. He laughed. 5 years later, he saw her standing with triplets. The night Colt Harrington said those words, he was standing in his penthouse elevator, wearing a tuxedo and carrying champagne, and he'd never felt more powerful in his life. His company had just closed a $200 million deal. He was 30 years old, worth $400 million, and at the very top of the world he'd spent his entire life trying to reach. And standing in the elevator beside him was Willa Chen, his girlfriend of 8 months, who had just told him she was pregnant. "You're pregnant," Colt repeated, staring at her. 6 weeks, Willa said, her hands trembling. "I know it's a shock. I know we never talked about children. But Colt, I love you. We could figure this out together." "Figure this out?" Colt laughed, a short, cold sound that Willa flinched at. "Willa, think about what you're saying. I'm a millionaire CEO. You're nobody. You work in my company mailroom. You process packages for a living. I know I'm not at your level professionally. Not at my level. Willa, you're nowhere near my level. You make $40,000 a year. You share an apartment with 2 roommates. You don't own a car. And you think you're going to be the mother of my child?" Colt shook his head. "I don't think so." "Are you saying you don't want—" "I'm saying you're not who I'd choose for this. You're sweet. You were fun. But a mother for my child? No. I need someone with status, education, connections. Someone who matches who I am, not someone who delivers my mail." Willa stared at him. "You're telling me I'm not good enough to have your baby?" "I'm being honest. Take some time. Think about your options. I'll cover any medical expenses. But Willa, let's be realistic about what this is and what it isn't." The elevator doors opened on the penthouse floor. Colt stepped out. Willa stayed. "You know what, Colt?" Willa's voice was quiet but steady. "I'll take care of my options. Don't worry. You won't hear from me again." The doors closed. Colt went to his champagne celebration. Willa went home, packed a bag, and left Seattle that night. He found out the next morning that she'd quit her job. No notice, no forwarding address, no explanation. Just gone. He told himself it was for the best. He had a company to run, a life to build, standards to maintain. Willa Chen had been charming and warm and genuine, but she wasn't who a man like Colt Harrington ended up with. 5 years later, Colt's world was considerably less triumphant. The company was still thriving. He was worth close to $1 billion now. But everything else had fallen apart. He'd gotten engaged twice to the right women. Elegant, educated, connected. Both engagements had ended badly. The first fiancée had been unfaithful. The second had told him plainly that he was emotionally unavailable and fundamentally unkind before returning his ring. He was 35, successful, and profoundly lonely. His assistant had suggested a charity gala might humanize his public image, and he'd reluctantly agreed to attend. The Seattle Children's Foundation Gala. Black tie, expensive venue, important donors. Exactly the kind of event Colt attended with his eyes closed. He was making small talk with an investment banker when he saw her. Willa stood across the ballroom looking completely transformed. She wore an elegant dark green dress, and carried herself with a quiet confidence that had nothing to do with wealth or status. She was speaking at a table of donors, and whatever she was saying had their complete, rapt attention. Colt stared. Willa Chen, in his ballroom, at one of Seattle's most exclusive charity events. He was still processing this when he noticed the banner behind the speaker's table. Chen Pediatric Fund, transforming children's health care. Before Colt could move, a commotion near the entrance caught everyone's attention. 3 small children, maybe 4 years old, 2 girls and a boy, came running in wearing adorable formal outfits, a harried young woman chasing them apologetically. "Mama! Mama!" All 3 ran directly to Willa, who scooped up one, while the others grabbed her legs. The entire room laughed warmly at the scene. But Colt felt the floor disappear beneath him. He did the math immediately. 5 years ago, Willa had been 6 weeks pregnant when she left. These children were 4. His 4-year-old triplets were currently wrapping themselves around their mother in the middle of a charity gala. Triplets. Willa had been carrying triplets. Colt grabbed a glass of water from a passing server, his hand shaking. He'd told her she was nobody, had laughed at her, had told her she wasn't good enough to be the mother of his child, and she'd been carrying 3 of his children when she walked away. He made his way across the ballroom, his heart pounding. Willa had settled the children. The young woman had returned to take them back to whatever childcare area they'd escaped from, and was composing herself when she turned and saw Colt. Her expression didn't collapse or crumble. That was what struck him most. She simply looked at him with calm, steady eyes. "Colt. Willa." His voice came out rough. "Those children are mine. Excuse me, I need to get back to... They're mine too." Willa tilted her head. "You made it very clear 5 years ago that you didn't want anything to do with any child of mine. So no, they're not yours." "Willa, they have my eyes. My daughter looks exactly like my mother. Please tell me the truth." "The truth is that I was 6 weeks pregnant when you told me I was nobody, when you laughed at me, when you said I wasn't good enough to be the mother of your child." Willa's voice remained even, but something flickered in her eyes. "The truth is, I was pregnant with triplets, which I discovered 3 weeks after I left Seattle. And I made the decision to raise them alone, rather than go back to someone who'd made me feel worthless." Colt felt sick. "Triplets? You raised triplets alone?" "With help from my family, yes. My parents moved in with me for the first year. My sisters have been incredible. But yes, the primary responsibility has been mine." What are their names?" Willa hesitated. Then, River, Sky, and Nova. "How did you..." Colt gestured at the banner. "The Chen Pediatric Fund." "I'm a nurse practitioner now. I went to school while pregnant, graduated when the triplets were 18 months old, started working in pediatric care. 2 years ago, I established the fund to help families who can't afford specialized pediatric services. Tonight is our annual gala." Colt stared at her. "You went to nursing school with triplet infants. I did what I had to do. Colt, I told you I wasn't nobody. You just couldn't see it." Willa straightened her shoulders. "Now, if you'll excuse me, please, let me talk to you. Really talk. Not here, but please, Willa. There's nothing to say. You have my children, 3 of them. I've missed 5 years of their lives. Doesn't that warrant a conversation?" Something in her expression wavered. "Fine. After the gala. There's a coffee bar in the lobby. 10 o'clock. Colt spent the next 3 hours watching Willa work the room. Confident, warm, compelling. Donors wrote checks. Executives shook her hand. The woman he'd called nobody commanded that ballroom with quiet authority. He'd been so catastrophically wrong about her. At 10 o'clock, Willa appeared at the coffee bar in her coat. The children apparently settled for the night. "You wanted to talk," she said, sitting across from him. "So talk." "I was wrong. About everything. What I said to you 5 years ago was cruel and arrogant and completely wrong. You were never nobody, Willa. You were always extraordinary. I was just too full of myself to see it. That apology is 5 years too late. I know it doesn't fix anything, but I need you to know what I said haunted me. I've thought about you, wondered where you went, whether you were okay. I didn't know about the babies, but I knew I'd been terrible to someone who didn't deserve it. What do you want, Colt, really? I want to meet my children. I want to be their father. I know I have no right after what I said, after abandoning you. But Willa, River, Sky, and Nova, they're mine. They deserve to know their father. They've done perfectly well without one. I know, because you've been incredible. But Willa, a father who shows up is better than an absent one. Please give me the chance to prove I can be that person. Willa studied him carefully. You think it's that simple? You show up after 5 years and get to be their dad? Not simple. I know it won't be simple. I know I have to earn it. But please, let me try. Why now? Why after 5 years? Because I walked into a gala and saw a woman I'd dismissed as nobody commanding a room full of Seattle's most powerful people. Because I saw my children and realized what I'd been missing. Because I've spent 5 years being successful and empty, and tonight I finally understand what success actually means. Willa was quiet for a long time. Okay, but Colt, on my terms. You start slow, supervised visits. You prove you can be consistent. And if you ever make my children feel the way you made me feel, I will make sure you never see them again. Understood? Completely understood. And for the record, the apology you owe me isn't about my feelings. It's about the example you set for our daughters, about how men should treat women. I need to know they won't grow up thinking it's acceptable to be spoken to the way you spoke to me. They won't, I promise. I'll spend the rest of my life showing them, and you, what respect looks like. Over the next 8 months, Colt proved himself methodically. Every Saturday, he showed up. At first, River, Sky, and Nova regarded him with the healthy suspicion of 4-year-olds meeting a stranger. But gradually, through consistency and genuine effort, they warmed to him. He learned that River was serious and thoughtful, already showing a mathematical mind, that Sky was fearless and adventurous, climbing everything in sight, that Nova was the peacemaker, always checking that her siblings were happy before worrying about herself. He learned their nighttime routines, their food preferences, their fears. He sat through tea parties and superhero games and arguments about which dinosaur was the best. He showed up to their preschool performance when they were ducks in the spring recital, cheering louder than any parent there. He also rebuilt something with Willa, slowly, carefully. She was guarded, rightfully so, but eventually started letting him in. He saw the life she'd built, modest but warm, filled with the triplets' artwork and books and evidence of a mother who'd given everything she had. How did you really do it? Colt asked one evening after the children were asleep. Nursing school, 3 infants, alone. I didn't have a choice. Once I knew I was having triplets, I had to build something real. Not just for me, but for them. I refused to let your words define what my children's lives looked like. My words motivated you. Your words infuriated me. There's a difference. Willa smiled slightly. I spent the first year angry, then I spent the second year studying. Then I graduated and started working and building the fund. By then, I didn't have room for anger anymore, just forward. Willa, I'm sorry for all of it. I know you are. I can see that you've changed. But Colt, sorry doesn't give me back 5 years of doing this alone. No, but can it give us a future? Not just co-parenting, actually together. Willa was quiet. Why? Because you feel guilty. Because I fell in love with you again watching you parent our children. Because you're the strongest, most remarkable person I've ever known. Because I was too arrogant 5 years ago to see what I had, but I see it now. Every single day. What about your standards? I'm still a nurse, not a CEO. I still don't have your wealth. You have something worth infinitely more. You built a pediatric fund that's helped hundreds of families. You put yourself through nursing school with 3 babies. You raised our children to be kind and curious and empathetic. Willa, you're more successful than anyone I've ever met in any boardroom. I was the nobody, not you. Willa's eyes filled with tears. You were always going to say the right thing eventually. Is that a yes? Let me think about it. 4 months later, she said yes to dinner. 6 months after that, Colt proposed in Willa's living room, surrounded by 3 4-year-olds who had been absolutely terrible at keeping the secret. Nova told me there was a ring, Sky announced helpfully. Sky! Nova looked horrified. I wanted it to be a surprise, River said solemnly. Colt laughed and got down on one knee. Willa, 5 years ago I said you were nobody. I was the biggest fool in the world. You're everything. You've built more with nothing than I've built with everything. Will you marry me and let me spend the rest of my life proving that I know exactly who you are? Say yes, Mama, River said. Say yes, Sky bounced. Nova just watched her mother with wise, patient eyes. Yes, Willa said. You ridiculous, reformed man. Yes. They got married 3 months later. River, Sky, and Nova were ring bearers, flower girl, and junior bridesmaid respectively. They took their jobs extraordinarily seriously. During his vows, Colt said, 5 years ago I told you that I was a millionaire CEO and you were nobody. I was catastrophically wrong. You walked out of that elevator and built something more valuable than anything in my portfolio, a family, a career, a legacy of helping sick children. Willa Chen, you were never nobody. You were always everything. I was just too small to see it. During her vows, Willa said, you laughed at me once. Then you spent 8 months showing up, earning our children's trust, proving you'd changed. I fell in love with who you became, not who you were. Colt, I forgive you for the past, and I choose you for the future. Don't make me regret it. Never, Colt promised, because sometimes the cruelest words become the greatest motivation. Sometimes the woman you call nobody builds an empire of love and purpose that humbles every million you ever made. And sometimes 5 years and 3 surprise children are exactly what an arrogant man needs to finally understand that worth is measured in character and kindness, not bank accounts and titles. And that's where our story ends today. What did you think? Did Colt and Willa's story of humbling redemption touch your heart? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and give us a thumbs up. Until next time, keep believing in second chances and remember, nobody is ever really nobody. See you in the next story.